Now we go on to more fun stuff. This week we have back Felix Zeltner. Felix, come on up. Who's running the Work Awesome conference. When is that coming up, Felix?
June 23rd.
June 23rd, here in New York City.
Yes.
And who are some of the other folks you have speaking at that?
So there's a lot of New York tech folks involved, from Albert Wenger, Union Square Ventures partner, very interesting venture capitalist in the city who is actually researching on general basic income, who's going to talk about the very basic, like what is work and why are our answers to this question so confused. All the way to a guy like Alex Chung, from the CEO of Giphy. Giphy is an amazing company that grew so fast that he basically hired all his friends. And he's going to talk about how that goes and whether it's actually a good thing. And we also have other topics from the gig economy all the way to the new HR, like the war for talent, and companies from all the US and also Europe involved in that. And I'm very excited for this day because it's a new thing. It's just me and friends. I'm trying to do this from scratch as the Greenhorns, and it's been a great experience so far.
So once again, you brought us a fascinating guest. Why don't you tell us who you brought us?
So I guess our artificial intelligence topic is the hottest right now, and I'm so glad to bring you a person that is in the middle of this whole discussion at a New York tech company that's very interesting, Huffington Post. And so I just give my seat up for Geetu. Please join. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hi.
Geetu Ambwani from Huffington Post. What's
Hello.
your title there?
I'm the principal data scientist.
Principal data scientist.
Yeah.
So, yeah, couldn't be cooler. So, what all tentacles of the company do you touch? Editorial-driven sales. How does data science work in your realm?
So we've tried to sort of have it pretty broad-ranging. So we work closely, obviously, with the newsroom, firstly, with all the editors, and then we also work closely with business. So we help them with some of the analytics as well as on the sponsorship side. So whenever we have sponsorship deals with, like, let's say Chipotle wants to sponsor organic food section because that's what they're interested in. So we would try to find them. So we would work with machine learning to sort of match all articles that are about organic food or sustainable farming, and sort of package it up so that they could automatically use that in a sponsorship package.
So I think you're at the center of the salvation of news coming forward. We'll get to that in a second. About how that could happen.
Huge.
You have nothing less than that responsibility. But start with the specifics of Huffington Post. It's so big. It's got such scale.
Yeah.
What kind of data does that generate for you? What does Huffington Post know about its readers and its content that a smaller site wouldn't know?
Right. I think it's kind of scary. So we would know. So essentially, we capture, which everyone does. Like, we have cookies that track how you navigate the site. So we can kind of see the path that you take through the site. So you came on the front page. We know that you came from Facebook or Google. And then we can see that maybe you landed on the front page and then you went down, 20% of the page, and then you clicked on this article and you watched this video for so long, and then you went. So essentially, we can track you right through the site. But we don't match you. We do not match that data with, like, demographic data or anything like that, because we try to keep, like, there's a wall between the business side and the editorial side, and so we try to use, so the editorial side gets to use this data only for the purposes of product analytics, like figuring out, like, maybe we should structure the site differently because we find a lot of people seem to leave after, I don't know, 30% of the site, or maybe we need to put videos on top to attract more video views, so things like that. But we try to, like, be good actors, essentially. So,
what's been the most surprising piece or pieces of data that you've discovered about user behavior?
Okay. So I think one of the things that was interesting to me, and I think this is not new, it's a lot of other news companies have shared that there seems to be very little correlation between what people read and what they share. And I think that's like a standard trope now, but I still find it amazing. I don't know if you guys bother to share before you read, but I think it's funny.
So what does sharing mean in that? What is the signal you're sending with sharing, you think?
What is the signal you're sending?
When a user shares, what are they really saying?
I think that's an interesting question. So I think there's no like one size fits all answer to that. I think some people share because they kind of. So I think it really depends on I think Facebook is kind of like this performative space, and we're trying to project who we are, and so I think people tend to share things that are maybe longer, that put them, make them look smarter than, but you still, but people obviously consume way more about Kim Kardashian, but you wouldn't necessarily maybe share that because not to be down on the Kardashians.
No, I think we should. I think it's perfectly fair game. Can you? But you can target and personalize to the individual?
Yes, we can.
Both on content and advertising?
Yes. So the advertising side, so the Huffington Post belongs to AOL, is part of AOL, which is now part of Verizon. And so they have their own ad platform, and so they definitely have their own system, which also markets to HuffPost. But we don't, on our side, we're sort of independent of that. Right. So we would, if we were to do personalization, which we don't right now, we are currently in discussion, because we don't have a login on the Huffington Post. So if we do have actually, sorry, I take that back. We do have some modules, so we use it on the research. So the idea would be we would use personalization for recommendations and, to serve you content that we think you would be interested in, but not.
When you do use personalization, how effective is it?
So right now, I think you definitely get a much better lift compared to something that's manually curated by an editor, for sure. And I think that just makes sense because people have different, it's just a broad, we have a huge audience of like 178 million cross-platform uniques, last I heard. So it's just unfair to expect, like a human being to be able to do that automatically. So
you use the word lift, which is I only know this because I used to work in media, a very insidery term. So what is lift for?
Yeah. So I think lift would be like when you compare, it's the comparison on, it depends on the metric you're using. So if we were to say that we care about people clicking on this set of articles, so the lift would be the difference between what you would get with this, with the personalized technique versus an editor selecting a list of articles to present.
Yeah. What is the most exciting sort of outlook for both the editorial side and the business side in terms of data? What do you think is the future?
I think the future is a challenging one, I think, as Jeff has written to a lot of effect. So I think we are definitely all we're sort of gearing up to figure out how we're going to tackle this new world of distributed content. And I think the question is so by distributed content for our readers, I guess I'm so used to saying readers, I guess our viewers. So it's the idea of like content living outside of the website itself. So it lives on Facebook Instant or Google AMP or something like that, or Snapchat Discover. So you have very little control as a publisher as to how the user engages with the content or reads it or where even they encounter it. So we've been trying to think about a data strategy to, tackle this.
So stay on that. That to me is a fundamental issue for where we go.
Yep.
So I wrote a little book called Geeks Bearing Gifts, not to give a plug, in which I argued that the future of media has to be based on relationships, that we have to know you as an individual or a member of a community, not as a mass. That means we personalize, it means we give you greater service, relevance, and value. Okay, so that's my shtick. So fine, let's say you buy the joke. Then comes the punchline, which is distributed media. So then you're in Instant Articles, you're in AMP, you're now in... what are they calling it? Progressive web apps, in instant apps. All these new things are coming out, which chunk up our content and put us out there all over, which I think is vital. I think we have to go engage with people where they are, whether it's Snapchat or YouTube or Facebook or wherever. But to maintain a relationship becomes very difficult. So first, what kind of strategies do you think the media industry could and should look at to maintain strings with people as they go and as we encounter them across all these different places all over?
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think being able to form that community is really important, and I think that on each of these platforms, you still kind of have like every brand has sort of its own unique editorial voice. Like what you would see, what you would view on a Huffington Post page would be very different from a Gawker or the style of BuzzFeed. maybe a little bit. So, so basically, so what we try to do is we try to have this, Huffington Post stands for, certain ideas or values, we like to think. And so, for instance, we have a big push on the on Ariana's sleep and lifestyle,
yes.
and we also have this other emphasis on what's working, which is this idea of highlighting solutions journalism and transformative journalism. And so we try to come up with initiatives like that where we can sort of connect to our users outside of just the daily news cycle. It's about being part of their life's goals and part of engaging with them in where their values are, I guess.
No, and I like that. I think we define engagement as still media centric, right? All of our measurements are media centric. They're egotistical, right? Page views, unique users. Did you like my stuff?
Yes.
Then we go to the engagement metrics. It's about attention and engagement. Still, did you like my stuff?
Yes.
As opposed to saying, did we help you sleep?
Yeah, exactly.
Case,
and we've been,
or change the world.
Exactly. So it's this idea of how do we, and that's actually one of the things we are discussing is how do we measure impact beyond just page views and
So
shares,
what do you think? Yeah,
right?
how in the discussions you're having, I'm sure you're not settled on it.
Yeah.
What are the kinds of signals of impact that you think?
So there's many ways to measure it. I think we've had a really hard time going beyond shares. I think initially it used to be page views. People agree that that's not very good. Then it's shares, but even shares, it doesn't really get to the real world on the ground impact. I think short of having somebody keep track physically of these are the things that happen, it's really difficult to get to an ideal measure. But we've been talking about partnering with organizations like change.org. And so the idea is if we publish so many things about people trying to affect change, and you read an article and you are motivated and that might appeal to you, and then is there a way for us to give you a way right then and there to take action?
Which is Mike has done. You were at Mike.
Yes, absolutely. We had the same exact thought process and have done it. It's just, I think the difficult part is figuring out how, of course I was on the revenue side, so how to get advertisers and agencies who are really kind of they know on a high level that media is moving in this direction, but the people who are managing, a lot of campaigns are the people that are sort of furthest removed from those decisions. So it's a very, it's a disjointed process. It's very exciting, but what's frustrating is pushing this very slow-moving industry to sort of catch up with media in that regard.
Yeah. No, totally.
So I'm about to go to Berlin tonight. Axel Springer, which is a big media company there, basically started the war against Google in Germany and in Europe.
Yeah.
And they're holding a summit about distributed content.
Oh, okay.
So with a lot of media folks, leaders from Europe will be there, and I'll be giving the opening volley. So help me out in terms of that discussion. I think part of what write my speech for me, will you? I think part of what we need to do as an industry, when it comes to Facebook and Google et al., knowing more about our users and our content than we do, is I think we're in a position, thanks to the war in Germany, as much as I disagreed with it, I think not the big war, I mean the media war, that war enabled discussion with Google and Facebook. They now want friends, they're coming to the table. So if you were able to sit down with Facebook, for the benefit of you, first and foremost, for the users on Huffington Post, or users of Huffington Post, wherever. Secondarily, for the benefit of the business, what data would you die to have?
Oh, wow. All of it.
I know that. Okay, now stop being greedy. And now, where would you start?
Yeah, I think for us it would, number one, I would like the newsfeed algorithm, the secrets to how.
Yeah. So you can game it, right?
Actually, that's what we do right now. We reverse engineer it.
Yeah.
But I think it's not so much data. I think it's more of a collaboration and a way to figure out. I think the issue with Facebook is that they have a little bit too much. They have a lot of not control, but a lot of impact, right, on the direction that they go in. It's almost like they go in one direction and then the news media business lurches along in that same direction. And the directions change very fast because today they're interested, last year. I used to be at the Washington Post, and we came out with this Washington Post social reader, which, if you might remember, got a lot of pushback, right? Yeah. And that was it went, I've just never been part of something that grew so fast and then went boom, right? So I think it's sort of, I think just getting them to understand that their platform is built on engaging with their users, and I think they understand that their users really need media, right? And so we need to be partners, and I don't think they treat us.
Okay, so let's imagine you have you've had a few beers, and now you're friendly.
Yeah. What data?
Right. So one thing I imagine is that if we got more interest data from Facebook with users' consent, with full transparency, if we got more interest data, we could both serve those users better.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, and I think they keep that, they have like this very rich data set, right? Which would help in personalization, which would help in us understanding what kind of content, and especially like where our users engage with that content and what they are looking for, really.
So that's the second part, is also then more data about your content.
Yeah.
By just knowing more about the behavior. So what kind of data what do you wish you knew about the behavior around your content and Facebook?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it is like, so simple metrics like even time spent is not something that you get from the Facebook API. They do have some amount of data that they give you, the Facebook Insights API, but it doesn't really have time spent. So I wouldn't know, so I might know that somebody viewed it, and there's a lot of controversy around the video views and what do they really mean, right? So just having something appear in a scrolling down the newsfeed, it may not mean much, right, to our users, and we don't even know if they registered us as a brand or not. So I think that sort of data, like
how about Google? What would you want from Google?
Okay, I haven't really spent that much time thinking about Google because it's tiny right now in terms of traffic, like the Google app.
No one ever calls Google tiny.
The search,
I think those are fighting words.
They're still the king of search for sure, and we love them. And Huffington Post spends a lot of time mastering the SEO strategy, so we love them. But I think with Google, what would be interesting would be more of the kind of like trends. They have a Google Trends API, so stuff like that. I think Google just in general has. It would be great to share more of like what are people looking at, what are they searching for, so that it helps us on the content creation side. Like what is it that people are really interested in knowing about?
So let's say the skies open up and you get all kinds of data, more data. Then you in your position, is there ever too much data?
No.
Okay. And how do learning systems and artificial intelligence now benefit you?
Yeah.
In that data world, in understanding how to take the data, what do you get? What new capabilities do you have today, or are you developing today using AI and learning systems around this data?
I think so. For instance, one of the I can give an example which we've started using at HuffPost is it's like this smart Slack bot that essentially looks at. So one of the problems with going back to distributed content that we have. Not exactly distributed, but the fact that most of your users come across Huffington Post articles somewhere outside of Huffington Post, right? Like, let's say Facebook, for instance. So we have only a few ways to seed these networks with the best of our content, because we publish something like 1,000 articles a day. And you have like, the only way you can seed Facebook in some sense is you have your Facebook fan page, which you have this carefully honed audience of about 4 million followers, and you want to show them the best of your content. But what is the best of your content on Facebook is different than what is the best of your content on Pinterest and so forth.
Yes.
So we have these models. We have a machine learning model that basically looks at past examples of things that did well and things that didn't do well. And then it tries to go through the articles that we publish every day and looks at kind of the organic traffic that it's gotten thus far. And then it makes a prediction saying that, okay, we think this article will do really well if you post it on Facebook right now, or this article will do really well on Pinterest. And so it's like a Slack bot that our editors essentially, are pretty much, everyone's on Slack all day long.
So the editors query the Slack bot?
They don't really query it. It's just a channel, and
it's giving them advice constantly.
Yeah, it's like a notification. And they can also ask it questions like, give me the stats on such and such article and so forth. So we have a lot of little helper commands like that.
Wow.
And they use it, they seem to love it, and they use it all the time.
So you're a data scientist.
Yep.
You could be making a friggin' fortune in Wall Street. Why are you in journalism?
It's fun. It's
What brought you in? How did you end up?
So my background has always been so it's computational linguistics. So I used to work in speech recognition. I was always interested in like language meets data kind of thing.
Right.
And so and for a while I even tried to like move over to, I also am very interested in public policy, and I think that the news business is kind of like where both of these meet, because it's kind of like where you get to influence, the next generation with ideas. And so being able to use data to impact that is
God's
it's
work.
like living the dream.
How is it for you hiring people?
It's actually not. It's not hard.
Really?
Hard. I mean, yes, you do have obviously competition from more, I guess, wealthier industries, but I think people really do care about the news, and and everyone wants to work somewhere cool, and luckily it's still cool. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Geetu, thank you so much.
Thank
really,
you.
Really
It was
great
really
having you.
lovely.
Thank you so
being
much.
here.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.